Get this so I can actually see everybody that's here. Okay, we're gonna get started. Excuse me. Hopefully, you guys didn't have too much trouble. We had a good 3/4 of an inch of ice, so I've been out between classes trying to get it off the cars before the temperature drops, because I think it's going down to 19 tonight or some ridiculous number like that. I don't know. Anyway, what I'm doing, I want to go over the hot and cold selection. I looked at your assignments. Some of you did really well. Some didn't quite have, you weren't on target for what I wanted. Hopefully this is going to help. The assignment is up. The assignment is due Sunday, 6 p.m. I may or may not get them all checked till Monday. I'm going to try, at least definitely try by class time on Monday to have everything checked. But anyway, what's up on Canvas is very minimal as far as explanation as to what I want. You're going to get more of that here. What have I got? Okay, I did get a question, and you may want to just turn your mic on and just go ahead and interrupt me and ask a question if you have it. I'm okay if you do that. The question is this the entire hot and cold or just the menu? No, this is everything. So you're going to have, if you look on Canvas, you will have a sub menu. So when you hit option 5, it's going to go out and it's going to create a sub menu, which is done exactly the same. You've got the do loop, and you have a different case, so you'll have a different variable for the case. But it's simply another menu within the menu. This one will have 4 options. First option will be random number. Second option will be hot number selection. Third will be cold number selection. And the fourth is return to menu. So you're going to go back to the main menu so we can continue the program. Okay. While we are, what I want to do is kind of go over what we have to do in this. Okay, so as you can see from the slide that I'm sharing, the hot cold number system, we need to select 11 numbers to wheel. And we've already done the wheeling. You already got the random number one, so you don't even need to do anything other than to copy that or to actually just put a menu in. And that's your option 1 that you already have. Your job is to come up with a hot and cold system that's going to work. When we're done, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to use. Oh, by the way, I should let you know, the one that I'm playing with random numbers so far has earned $13. I haven't checked today's, so it'll be today's and tomorrow's are still up in the air. So we're actually going to kind of keep track of it. Random number one, we did this, how the hot system, and I think I'll probably do the hot system next for next week, and then the cold system the following week. But anyway, I will tell you the method that I'm going to use for our quote test to see. But anyway, we need to select 11 numbers. Okay, our task is going to be to find out how many times each number, and if you want to think of it in statistical terms, in the population is everything that is there. population is everything. Your sample is the group that you're looking at. We need to kind of look at the entire population or all of the numbers that we have entered. Then we need to select the 11 that fit our system. So if it's a hot number, whatever it is, the numbers that have come up at least 6 times or whatever. Okay. But we need a process. So the process is going to be something along these lines. We've got to make a list of however many you need. In our case, we need 11 numbers. You're going to start at the beginning of the population and compare it to each of the values in the sample we're going to use. If it's a better fit, we will put it in that group of 11. And we continue this until all 11 slots are filled. Okay, so that's kind of the process that we're going to do. So we're going to, pick the numbers, look at the whole population, and then from that, we're going to pick 11 numbers that we think are going to be the best. Okay, now from what you turned in, a lot of people are, we're going to look at the last 10. Some people say we're going to look at the entire population of however many you have in there. Other people, that was for the hot, for the cold, doing the same thing. Your system is going to be up to you. I'm not going to make you use the system. Okay, there was a question, are we picking 11 random numbers or are they pre-selected? The computer, we have 4 options. And one option is go back to the main menu. The first option will be random number selection. That one I already gave you. When I sent you the program, if you go to option 5 in that program, so case 5, that is the random number generator. Okay. And I can kind of show you how that looks as we go on here. Okay. So anyway, moving on. Okay, hot cold number system. Okay, what I just said sounds pretty easy. Look at the whole list. Oh, I want these 11 numbers. That's easy for a human to say. But for the computer, we want the computer to pick it. I mean, that's the whole idea of trying to sell this program to someone. Not keep track of numbers. They can do that with a piece of paper. We want it to, in our marketing scheme, sell the program. Hey, this system, blah, 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 make stuff up, whatever. This system is a great system. We have 2 systems for you to pick from. Try them, see what you think, whatever, make it crippleware and say you can try it for X number of days or whatever, however you want to do that. But the hot and cold systems, for the humans, easy. You look at the list of numbers and you go, oh, I like the numbers 1, 5, 10, 16, 25, 30. Oh, wait, we'll stop at 25. And then you put those on your card. Okay, if we're picking 11, you pick 11 numbers and you wheel them that way, piece of cake. You could actually, if you were to actually try to market this, you could actually put a help system in and then just, have a text file to read and give information. But anyway, I digress here, and I'd rather give you some time at the end if there's any questions. So it sounds easy for a human, okay? But in reality, we need 3 pieces of information, but I'm going to start by saying we need 2 pieces of information from the sample. Now, this is a sample versus a population. So this is going to be the 11 numbers that we pick. Okay, we're going to need one thing being the number. Is it the number 1? Is it the number 7? Is it the number 25? What number is it? The other item is how many times has it come up? Because that's what the computer is going to base its selection on. It's going to base its selection on, for example, if it's a hot number, and this has kind of been the consensus, if it's a hot number, the most picked number is hot. So you're going to group them by, if in the last 10 draws, you have these numbers and this one's had 4 draws, this one's come up 4, this one's come up 3, 3, 3, and so on. You're going to take the ones with the most picks over the 10 draws, and those are going to be your numbers that you're going to put into the system. Okay, so we really need 2 arrays, and as you can see on the slide, okay, we've got array n, which is going to be dimensioned at 12. That's going to be the number. We're not going to use a 0 one. That'll be a dummy one that we can use if we need a numeric value. But this array right here, the n sub 0 through n sub 11. So n sub 1 is going to be our first number. N sub 2 is our second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to the 11th number. Corresponding to that is the HM array. Now, you could use a double subscripted array. That would be easy. I did not, and in the example that I'm going to give you, I haven't. And the reason is I started with the N array. I didn't want to have to go back in and rewrite my program. Okay, so I just used another one. So instead of a double subscripted array, this is a linked array. So N sub 1 is going to correspond with the information in HM sub 1. So for example, N sub 1 could be the number 5. Let's say 5 has been drawn 5 times, and that's the most. Okay, so N sub 1 is 5. And let's say it's been drawn 6 times. So N sub 1 is the number 5. It has been drawn 6 times. So HM would be the 6. If the next most is 4, and we'll say it's 20, then N sub 2 would be the number 20. HM is telling me how many times it has been drawn. So it would be 4. So these are linked together. Okay, so those are the 2 arrays, because it's the 2 pieces of information that we need for, again, for our sample size, for the 11 numbers. I'm calling our 11 numbers our sample. Our population is however many you have in. So if you have, 54 draws in, your population is 54, but of 54 draws, and we're going to base our sample on those. All right. We need one other thing. We need a way to find out how many times these things have come up. How many times have they come up? Okay. So what we need is an array to count. And I'm going to use the array num underscore CNT, and I will dimension it at 31. So it will go from 0 to 30. So it's going to be the numbers 1 to 30. And this is going to allow us to increase the count for each number. Again, n sub 0, or sorry, num underscore CNT sub 0 is not going to be used. I'm not going to use that for anything. I want to keep the numbers where when I'm looking at it in 6 months, I'm going to go, oh, That's what it was for. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. And best if you just jump in. Okay, so now that we have that, how's this process going to work? How are we going to put this process into play in the computer? Well, there's really only 5 steps. We simply have to break this down into 5 steps. Step 1, you will set all of the arrays to 0 so you can begin the count, right? Because if we're going to count, you're going to count at some unknown value. You're going to set it to 0 so you can begin your count. So that's step 1. So you're going to take all 3 of those arrays, set them to 0. Number 2, okay, you need to set the beginning and ending limits. Now, what does that mean? What that means is we have to know, are we looking at, let's say we have 50 draws in our database. Are we going to look at all 50? Are we only looking at the last 10? Are we only looking at the last 5? Are we looking at the last 13? Are we looking at the first 13? Okay. This is where you're going to pick your system, which one you are selecting. So how many numbers are you going to look at? So that's going to be step 2. That's simply setting a variable for your for loop, because you're going to have a for loop to go through to count these numbers. So step 2 is simply setting your beginning and ending values for your for loop to go through and add up. All right. Step 3, actually count all the numbers that have occurred. So if we're doing, let's say, the last 10, okay, we're going to do, for I equals CNT minus 9 to CNT, that's going to give us the last 10. Okay? And then we have to go through, that's our beginning and ending. Now we actually have to count up each of those. So each of those draws will have 5 selections. Oh, wait, is that going to be a nested for loop? Yeah, I'm thinking probably. Okay. And I know right now you're probably being a little overwhelmed. I'm going to tell you 2 things. 1, don't worry. I hope it will become clearer later. 2, I'm actually recording this so you can go back and look at this again. Okay, number 4, select the 11 numbers based on your system. So you pick the 11, you put them into that group, and then finally display the 11 numbers and the card that you're playing. Are there any questions on the 5 steps in this process that you're going to do? Okay, I will move on then. Process number 1, set all of our arrays to 0 to begin the count and selection. Well, hopefully you can look up here. We're going to go for I equals 0 to I less than or equal to 11. I equals I plus 1. We're going to set n sub, looks like I have a typo here. I apologize. That should be n sub I equals 0 and hm sub I equals 0. Sorry about that. That is a typo on my slide. Let me make a note. Fix fix code. Fix slide. n sub 0 equals 0 should be n sub I equals 0. Okay. Just so you know, we're simply setting that, we're erasing everything that's in there. This next for loop is doing the number count. So we can start counting and simply putting those there. Right? So that's step one. Step one is done. Step two, set the beginning and ending limits. Okay, in here I have an if statement. What you should do is you should check to make sure you actually have enough drawings to make the system work. So for example, if your hot system is the numbers that have been picked the most in the last 10 draws, if you only have 5 draws put in, you might want to say something like, you should enter more data or try the random number generator, because I really don't have enough information to make an intelligent guess or prediction for you. So you should have a check there. How hard is that check? Let's see. If CNT is less than whatever you want, so if you're doing 10, if CNT is less than 10, I'm sorry, you don't have enough information for me. So put that in. And if you don't have enough information, break out of the loop so they go back. Okay. Then if that's taken care of, so you have more, you've got 50. You're going to set your ending one to whatever you want and your starting one at wherever you want. Now, if you set end to CNT and start to 1, that is going to go through the entire list and count them up. And you might want to do that. You may want to do that. I want to look at the huge picture. Okay. Now, statistically, each number has, and we already talked about this, each number has the same chance of coming up. Now, if you wanted to go from, let's say, the last 10, the 10 most recent drawings, and the way our data is set up is the last one's going to be on the bottom. So if we want to go there, okay, we want our ending number is going to be CNT. But what would the start be? And I will tell you, if you think about it, okay? So let's say we had, we wanted to do the last 10, okay? And if we had 50 numbers in there, so CNT is 50. If we subtract 10 from 50, which is what people will think to do, I want to do the last 10. Subtract 10. You subtract 10 from 50, that's going to give you 40. You will look at 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. You're looking at 11. Okay, so if you want to do, for example, the last 10, okay, you want your end to be CNT, but you want your start to be CNT minus 9. All right. If you wanted it to be the last 5, it would be CNT minus 4. That's something you may have to know. But what we're doing is we're picking the beginning and ending limits of the population. Okay, step 3. Count the number of times each number has come up. For row equals start to end. So I'm going from the beginning. If I'm doing the last 10, I'm going to go from 41 to 50, if that's what I have. Okay, start would have been 41, end would have been CNT, which I'm just going to say is 50. Here I'm going to do my columns from 2 to 6, because remember, in our data, that first one is actually the date. So we don't want to count that at all. We don't want to count the date at all. So we're starting the second column and going to the sixth column. So that would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's our 5 numbers. Okay, so how are we adding these up? Very simple. Right here, I am saying W equals, and I'm parsing that particular one. Now, we've already done all the error traps. Okay, when we enter the data, it's error trapped. When we edit the data, it is error trapped. So when we're doing this, we don't need to. If you wanted to put a try catch in there, you could, but it would be a waste of code, since there's no way that's going to be wrong. If that's wrong, there's a problem with the file. Okay, so it's not needed here. Okay, but we're going to parse that into W. Then we're going to say num underscore CNT sub W. So let's say the number 5 was drawn. Okay, number 5 is drawn. So num count sub 5 is equal to num count sub 5 plus 1. So if it were 0, it's now going to be 1. If it were 2, it would then become 3. So we're simply adding 1 to that. So that's how it's going to go through. Now, our numbers are limited to 1 to 30. So we've got this. If you have not put a check in to make sure that they've only entered numbers 1 through 30, then you would have to put a check in here or go back and fix the code. Right? But this is simply adding up all the numbers so we know how many times. So if you've gone from 1 to CNT, this array is going to tell you how many times a number has been selected. All right, number 4. This one's a little tough. It's a little tough to follow. This is actually another type of sort is called an insertion sort. And what an insertion sort does is you take your piece of information. Here's my piece of information. You go through the list till you find where it belongs, assuming the list is already sorted. Where does it belong? You then move everything down and put your piece of information in. Okay, it's called an insertion sort because you are inserting the piece of data where it belongs in the list. Okay. I've found this works really well if you are limiting your numbers. Okay. For example, if you wanted to count, and there's only 30, you could, and if you decide to do this, this is fine in your code. But if you had 2 arrays where you had the numbers and the number of times they've been selected, and you sort that array from high to low and take the first 11 numbers, that's going to work fine also. That would simply be that's just simply, another way of doing it. Okay, but this code, what this code does is really simple. Starts and it goes through all 30 numbers. We're only interested in 11, so the J loop is 11. If your number, so num count sub I, now remember, I is going to be the number. So if I is 1, that would be the number 1. If it's 17, that would be 17. That's going to represent that. So if that number of times that it has come up is greater than HM sub J. So you're starting at the first one and you're going to find where it goes. Now remember, these are all zeros. So the first time it hits a number that's 1, whatever that was. So let's say number 5 was hit 1. 1 has not come up, 2 has not come up, 3 has not come up, 4 has not come up, 5 has come up 1 time. As soon as it sees this, it's going to go, oh, that number is greater than the 0. I need to find where it goes. So I've found where it goes. It goes in the very first slot. It's going to come down here and it's going to actually move everything else down. What it's doing, it's going to start at the bottom and it's going to start at the 10th, put the 10th in the 11th, the 9th in the 10th, 8th in the 9th, boom, 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 all the way up till it gets to that first slot. And then it's going to replace that slot with HM sub C and T. So that's going to be whatever, the number 1. It's going to make that this is a J and this is a J. So N sub J equals I. We're done looking. So we're going to drop out of the J loop here. Okay, that's going to close the if. This one closes the for. And then we go and we look at the second number, the third number, the fourth number, and so on and so on and so on. Now I will tell you, if you put this code in, it's going to work. It's going to work when you select the numbers. In the one that you have, that you got from me, we simply do random numbers. This one will actually pick the numbers. Okay, so once you have that, we're ready for step 5. Step 5 is they're all prints. You're going to display the information. And since I've already given you this display, I figured I might as well just give it to you again. Okay, so in this case, we're going to say, here are the 11 hot or cold, whichever one it is. Please don't tell me they're hot numbers when you're doing a cold system. Here are the hot numbers that I think you should play. And here I printed the heading in the table, and then I displayed the actual numbers. Then under the numbers, I displayed how many there would be. So, if the first number is the number 18, and it has come up 5 times, it will have num1, 18, 5 underneath it. And here are the game cards. So we're playing N sub 1, 2, 3, 10 and 11, 4, 5, 6, 10 and 11, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. That's the entire system. That is the whole program. You're going to do this for your hot, cold. So in your assignment is going to be to do, case 5. Case 5 is going to be a menu with 4 options. Okay, so you simply write another menu, put that in there. I've given you the random number selection. You're free to use it. If you have written your own, you're free to use that too. I'm not actually checking that one. I will be checking options 2 and 3, and obviously 4. If it doesn't go back, I'm going to take points because it's like, how can it not? And simply do hot and cold. Now, this part right here, this slide, it is simply your report. That report's going to be the exact same in the hot and cold. Matter of fact, if you write the hot number system, copy it and paste it into the cold, it's going to work with one modification. Okay, the report's the same. That's the same. What are you going to have to change here? Here's where we're selecting the numbers. you change this greater than sign to a less than sign. And then you're going to select only the numbers that go in. Is that going to be right? Should be. Because it's going to put the zeros in there for you. This is going to count up, so this won't change. Step 2 isn't going to change, except it will slightly in that, if your systems are different. Okay, so for example, if you're saying, you know what, I want to do the last 10 for hot numbers. If you want to do the last 10 for cold numbers also, you're going to do this. What you may have to do, however, is instead of 0, okay, because we want these to be less than, you should set this guy to whatever you're going to use. Okay, so if you're going 10, set this one right here, this how many, to 10, not to 0 in the cold. So you make 3 edits, basically. That one, change this to less than, and change hot to cold. And you've just done both systems. All right. Now you are free to use whichever hot cold system you want. I will tell you what I am going to do, and so we can check it. I have decided for my cold system, I'm going to go through and I'm going to select the numbers that have not come up in the last 3 drawings. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to find out which numbers have come up, and those numbers are going to be eliminated. So what I'm going to do, in essence, is I'm cutting the numbers down by at most 15. And then I'm going to randomly generate my 11 from the remaining numbers. So that's how my cold system is going to work. My hot system, again, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it however you want. My hot system is going to be, what do I have here? The numbers that have come up in the last 5. So I am going to go through, look at the last 5 drawings, and then randomly select my numbers from the group that have come up. So I'm not actually taking the most. So, okay, 18 has come up 5 times in the last 5 drawings. That may or may not be one of the ones I'm going to select. I'm going to actually select by random from the list, but that's a system that I'm implementing in mine, and that we will go through and I will keep you abreast of how's Dr. K's lottery doing, and we can kind of conclude this in 3 weeks, I guess, 2 weeks from the time we're actually done with this, and see which one would maybe better. All right, any questions? Because looks like I've gone to the limit on time here. Any questions? Okay, I see. Yes, there are questions. So many. Hopefully this has helped. All right. Okay, that is all I have. I am going to turn my recording off. Yes, you received an email.